Welcome to the next of our series looking at the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu's book, The Book of Joy, which finishes with the 8 pillars of joy. So we looked at the 4 pillars of the head: perspective, humility, humour and acceptance. And last week we looked at the first of the pillars of the heart, forgiveness, and today we'll be looking at gratitude. The Dalai Lama says that every morning he says to himself, I am fortunate to be alive, I have a wonderful, precious life, and I'm not going to waste any minute of it. And Archbishop Tutu also reminds us that within waking up in the first hour, you could just tick off all the things that you could be grateful for. You wake up, grateful for that. Wake up in a warm bed, grateful for that. You can have a shower, hot water, grateful. Clean clothes to put on, grateful. A house, just shelter from the elements, grateful. Breakfast, something to eat, grateful. So there's an awful lot to be grateful for. And reading through the book and the interaction between the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, you can see how often they are just grateful for each other, for the company, for the life that they've lived. And Douglas Abrams, who pulls this book together, reminds us how often both the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu use the word wonderful. Everything is wonderful, and they have that almost childlike quality where the wonder of everything, it just jumps out at them, and they respond to that wonder with a deep sense of gratitude. As we said before, we have to be careful because there's a fine line with many things. So perspective is about not just taking our own perspective, but seeing things from all different ways. Humility, we say, there's a false humility. Humour, there's a way of bringing people down with humour rather than building up. Acceptance, it's not about a sort of fatalism or just accepting things as it is. It's accepting the reality of the world, but also about saying there's things that should be changed. And forgiveness is just a really big and difficult topic. So gratitude isn't about just being grateful for the frivolous things. It's about being grateful for all of life, and the life that we have. The Dalai Lama talks about we need to be grateful for our enemies too, who he calls our most special spiritual teachers. So it can be difficult to be grateful for things which have been very negative, and we can begin to focus very much on the negative. As they say, the glass half empty or half full approach to life. But being grateful is a central part of most of the spiritual practices. So in the Christian faith, we have prayers of thanksgiving. Many of us will maybe say grace before we eat, just to be grateful for the food in front of us. And in Holy Communion, in the Eucharist, there's always that central part which is a prayer of thanksgiving. As he bowed his head and gave thanks, let us too come to God in thanksgiving. So we are always looking at this idea of being grateful and being thankful. The Dalai Lama's idea of our enemies being our most precious spiritual teachers is a difficult one for us to really put into practice. In our mindfulness course, we turn to a poem by Rumi, the 13th century Sufi poet, called The Guest House. And I think maybe this is a nice one just to think about how being grateful can be rather difficult for us. Now, this is The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Lovely poem, difficult to put into practice. There is a lovely Benedictine monk who does an awful lot on gratefulness, Brother David Steindl Rast, and if you look up TED Talks and gratefulness, you will find his TED Talk on gratitude, which is really worth looking at. And Brother David says, when you are grateful, you are not fearful, and when you are not fearful, you are not violent. When you are grateful, you act out of a sense of enough and not out of a sense of scarcity. You are willing to share. If you are grateful, you are enjoying the differences between people and respectful to all people. A grateful world is a world of joyful people. Grateful people are joyful people. A grateful world is a happy world. And it's worth looking at David Steindl Rast and his ideas on how to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. And we've looked at that a little bit in the past in terms of being grateful, 10 things to be grateful for at the end of each day, as in writing them down, 10 fingers, count them off. So it's about cataloguing and noticing and rejoicing in the things that we've experienced through the day. And it's also about just smiling at the day. One of the things we say is wake up, allow a half smile to come across your face, and you'll see that that lifts your mood. And we know that when we smile, our mood does rise. And the strange thing is, when someone else sees us smiling, their mood rises too. So just smiling can be infectious. And I think the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, that idea of gratitude and wonder becomes quite infectious as well when we read through the book. So the sixth pillar of joy, the exercise for it on gratitude, is about journaling. And we've looked at journaling before, just that idea of taking time and a little notebook just to write certain things down. And again, writing down, something happens because you've taken it from inside you and putting it out on the page, and something does happen. So journaling for gratitude, and it's a very, very simple practice, and it allows us just to notice all the things that have happened through the day, notice them and then appreciate them, our large and our small blessings. And we have that old saying, don't we, count our blessings every day. So this is something to do at the end of the day, reflecting on whether you fulfilled your intention that you set out in the morning, that intention. You wake up saying, you know, I'm grateful to be alive. I have a wonderful and precious life. I'm not going to waste any minute of it. End of the day, looking back, saying, have you been grateful for the things that have happened today? So here we are. Exercise for pillar 6, gratitude. Close your eyes and recall 3 things from your day for which you are grateful. They can be anything from the kindness and generosity of a friend, to the bounty of a meal, to the warmth of the sun, to the beauty of the night sky. But try to be as specific as you can in recalling what you are grateful for. The idea is be very specific
and that allows us to go back into that moment and just to relive it in a little way. So write these 3 things down in a journal, and you can do this just in your head, keeping a list of what you're grateful for, but it has been shown to have many physical and emotional benefits over time in writing something down. And if you write it down, you can go back to it and revisit it. And the thing about trying to do this over a period of time is that you're continuously looking for new things to be grateful for. So again, you can go back and check if you're putting the same things in time and time again. So it's nice to try and find a variety of things and think about all the things that we could be grateful for. And gratitude is not about sort of self-indulgence, because what we'll go on to see is that being grateful for the things that we have also reminds us that many people don't have those things. So gratitude and being grateful as a way as well of helping us look out into the world. So little exercise, journaling for gratitude, and they're quite good. They're only looking for 3 things, but you might want to try and do this over the week, and each day, at the end of each day, just thinking about 3 new things just to write down, to recall, and to be grateful for. So our 6th pillar of joy, gratitude. Take care, and God bless.